Hello to my crazy, what are you? No, I'm just kidding. Crazy Simple Truth Bible Study students. How are you today? We are going to do a Bible study on Miriam. And if you saw on my YouTube channel, we did a character study on Miriam's mom, Miriam and Moses' mom. But the study of Miriam is more in depth. And so I want to make sure that I gave it to you, my Bible study students that support me here on Patreon. So I've got my little packet. If you don't have a packet, just simply write it out on a piece of paper. It works just fine. But I went ahead and printed this off. You should have access to this in the Patreon. If you don't, please let me know and I will make sure that you do. Okay, so that's not the first page, Nikki. Get it right. Character name. Here we go. Okay, character Bible study. Character name. Her name is Miriam. And we don't know her last name. Miriam. Make sure I'm recording here. Okay, and then Bible passages where she is mentioned. Miriam is mentioned in Exodus. Miriam's not mentioned a lot in the Bible, but enough that she's definitely worth looking into. She is in the baby's sister. Okay, so 4, Exodus 2:4. That's when she stood. So if you don't know this story, let me do a little backstory for you. Moses was born, and he was born at a time when the Israelites were slaves to the Egyptians. And he was born at a time when the Israelite I forgot the word. I always do this. Why do I do this? The people who help deliver. The ladies who help deliver the babies. You know what I'm saying. Okay, so they were given instructions to kill in the river, to throw in the river all the baby boys that the Israelites had so that they could quit growing in population. And the nursemaids? I don't know what they were called. Anyway, Moses' mom saw, well, the Israelites didn't do it. They didn't do it. They found a way around it. And Moses' mom, maybe they did it sometimes. I don't know. All I know is that Moses' mom was ingenious and she trusted God and had faith in him so much that she built a basket, put Moses in it, laid the basket among the reeds in the Nile River. I think it was the Nile River. And Miriam, his sister, we don't know how old she was, stood at the side of the bank and watched. And at the end of this study, I'm going to show you what I learned that's so cool about Miriam standing there. But we're going to go ahead and write the other verses from here. And you can get this information in the back of your study Bible. You can Google it. You can type it in like Bible Hub, Bible Study Tools. You'll find all kinds of information about the verses that Miriam is mentioned in. Okay, 1 Chronicles 6:3. So this study is going to include Miriam when she was a child. It's going to include Miriam when she was middle-aged. And it's going to include Miriam when she was an elderly person and died. So we're going to have all kinds of information here on her. Deuteronomy 24:9. Exodus 2:4 I've already got. Numbers 26:59. 26:59. I think that's it. I'm looking at my notes here. 1 Chronicles 4:17. 1 Chronicles 4:17. And then Exodus 12. This doesn't mention Miriam, but it's going to tell us the Israelites gave them jewelry. So we're going to go ahead and write that one down. I think that's it. Exodus 2:3. Nope, that's going to come later. Okay, I'll tell you that later. Okay, so we've got our verses. Now, the verses most known for, and this, I would say, when you think of Miriam or Moses' sister, you think of Moses. And when you think of Moses, there's so many things that you think of. But when you think of Moses with Miriam, typically we think of when she stood at the bank of the Nile River. So we are going to put the baby's sister. So Exodus 2:4. Exodus 2:4. the baby's sister. It does not mention Miriam here, but we know from the other verses that Moses has one sister. The baby's sister then stood, and her name is Miriam. Then stood at a distance, watching to see what would happen to him. Okay, next we have got her age. So I told you that she was like possibly a teenager. So I'm going to put like preteen, middle-aged, and elderly. Whoops, I guess that could have been a comma. Elderly, sorry, it's so messy. Okay, her appearance, we have absolutely no clue what her appearance was other than she was female. Okay, important characters mentioned. So here we've got her brothers. We've got Moses and Aaron. So what you're going to want to do is look up all of those verses so you can see where I got this information. And then I'm also going to tell you some other places that I got information. I think, let's see. Numbers 26:59, let's go there. Numbers 26:59. Okay, and that is going to be right over here. This is a newer Bible, that's why there's not very many markings in it. 26:59. Okay, and this is what it says. Now, Kohath was the ancestor of Amram, and Amram's wife was named Jochebed. She also was a descendant of Levi, born among the Levites in the land of Egypt. Amram and Jochebed became the parents of Aaron, Moses, and their sister Miriam. To Aaron, okay, so then it goes on with Aaron's. So we want to make sure that we know that's where that came from. So we're going to put Numbers 26:59. So you can definitely go more in depth with this. I did in my notes, and that's why I'm going to give you the information. But we know her mother, so it does mention her father. So I'm going to go ahead and put him down. Amram and Jochebed. I don't know how to say her name. Jochebed. Levites. Parents. Okay, we've got them. We've got the Egyptian queen or princess. Egyptian princess. Now that's when she was a child. So as she was middle-aged and they went through the Red Sea, then she's got all of the Israelites during the Exodus. And then she's basically, at the end of her life, got Moses and Aaron. And you'll see why in just a moment. Okay, her strengths. Now this one's really good. She has such good strengths. Okay, so she's smart. She's a quick thinker, she's clever, she's mature. Because think about this. The Israelites were told to kill these babies. And it's obvious if there's a baby in a basket floating along the Nile River, it's obvious that they were not going to kill him. And so for her to stand there and take the risk of being seen was pretty clever and smart and brave. So smart, brave, clever, quick thinker. And if you can think of any other words there. Now in her, mature. Mature for her age, I'm going to put, because this is when she was little. And then during the Exodus, she was a leader. I believe that prophetess somewhere, 1 Chronicles 4:17. So let's go there. 1 Chronicles 4:17. 1 Chronicles 4. I think I have that marked down here. 1 Chronicles 4:17. So my suggestion to you is to go in and write these down. This one, I'm not sure which verse it was, but it's talking about how when the Israelites left Egypt, they were to take things worth money with them. Okay, so that wherever you can find that, I'll try to figure it out as we go. But what did I say? 1 Chronicles 4:17. 4:17. Come on, little pages. Come on. 4:17. The sons of Ezra. Okay, one of Miriam's wives became the mother of Miriam. He married a woman from Judah who became the mother of Jared. Miriam also married... Okay, so I don't know what that was telling me. 1 Chronicles 6:3 also mentions that. Did I write that one down? Yep, I got that one down too. So let's see what this one says. It talks about Miriam in that one. I guess that's what it's telling me. Okay, and this one says the children of Amram were Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. So the same, once again, that is her family tree. So I'll just write here family tree. But I'd like you to go ahead and write down the verses so that when you refer back to this, you'll know what you were talking about. Okay, so that we know. Now, where does it say that she's called a prophetess? I've got that one. Okay, let me turn my notes here. This information, a lot of this that I got was from BibleStudyTools.com and GotQuestions.com. Got Questions had an entire page of information on her that was super awesome. Okay, let's go to Exodus 12. Exodus 12. Because we want to talk about the jewelry. So, where's it at? I don't know. It's talking about the Passover. Instructions for the Passover. I'll find it. Hang on. So all of the people of Israel followed... I don't know where it is, but I know that it's in here. And it says that when they left Egypt, they took with them, I think it says silver and gold and clothing, something like that. So that is in Exodus 12. I just don't want to keep you waiting while I look for it. Let's move on. So we are going to look at her weaknesses. And what her weakness is Numbers 12, 1 and 2. So go there. Numbers 12, 1 and 2. Oh, and I don't have that one written down. So Numbers 12, 1 through 2. And Numbers 12, 13. Numbers 12, 13. Leprosy. Complaining. Okay. Numbers 21. Numbers 21. She's in more verses than I realized. Death. Okay, so let me go back now. We're going to look for her weaknesses, and we're going to go to Numbers 12, 1 and 2. So Numbers 12, 1 and 2. While they were at Hazeroth, Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because he married a Cushite woman. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he spoken through us too?" But the Lord heard them. Now Moses was very humble, more humble than any other person on earth. So immediately the Lord called to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam and said, "Go out to the tabernacle, all three of you." So the three of them went to the tabernacle. Then the Lord descended in the pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tabernacle. Aaron and Miriam he called, and they stepped forward, and the Lord said to them, "Now listen to what I say. If there were prophets among you, I, the Lord, would reveal myself in visions. I would speak to them in dreams, but not with my servant Moses. Of all my house, he is the one I trust. I speak to him face to face, clearly, and not in riddles. He sees the Lord as he is. So why were you not afraid to criticize my servant Moses. The Lord was angry with them and he departed. Okay, so her weakness is what she did was she doubted well, first of all, she complained. Definitely that. And then she questioned the Lord's wisdom. Because the Lord told her that Moses was the one. He was the one. They were there to help him, but Moses was the one that he chose to deliver his people. And she questioned that, and God got mad. So I'm going to go ahead and put little dotty dots here. Another thing that was her strength when she was a leader is she also was a worship leader. So what do I want to say? Musician. Because she played the tambourine and singer. That was a strength of hers. Okay, and then she also was considered a prophetess. And her weakness was God struck with leprosy. Okay, next. Moving on. Okay, we've kind of got this main story overview, but let's go ahead and start at the beginning here. And I might use my verses that I wrote down to kind of get this part organized. So we've got Exodus 2:4. We've got helped save baby Moses. Now, I want to point out something here. Think about this. This is a time, baby Moses is born. This is a time when the Israelites are under major oppression. They're killing their baby boys, the Egyptians are. Imagine being a little girl, Miriam, and being terrified. Can you imagine what she thought when her mom had this baby, this beautiful baby boy, and she knew that he was going to be killed? Imagine what she thought. So she was very brave. In fact, did I put that in there? Yes, brave. Very, very brave. Very brave. Okay, helped save baby Moses. And then we've got Exodus 12. And what's funny about this one, wherever the verse is, I don't know, is that one of the things that Miriam took with her was a timbrel. Miriam took a timbrel. Now, why did Miriam take a timbrel with her when she left Egypt? Of all the things, she couldn't carry luggage with her. She couldn't bring a whole bunch of stuff. Why did she bring a timbrel? We're going to get to that. Okay, Exodus. Then we've got Numbers. We've got who her parents are. We've got, no, we don't need that. We need Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 24:9. Did I read that yet? Let's go there. Deuteronomy 24:9. Numbers just tells who her family is, so I don't think we need that. Deuteronomy 24:9. Let's see where we're at here. 24:9. Okay, we've got, remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam as you were coming from Egypt. If you lend anything to your neighbor, do not enter his house. Okay, in all cases involving serious skin disease. Okay, so this is just merely where God tells the Israelites. God warns about Miriam. Fault. And the consequences. So basically, it's saying that he reminds them, remember what happened to Miriam? So that isn't really something we need to do in the main story overview. But what we do need is the, where did she come out of the, hang on, I'll get it in just a minute. Huh. 15:20. There it is, Exodus 15:20. This is actually one of my key verse, honestly, because this is what I love about her. Did I write this one down? Exodus 15:20. No, this is one of the most important ones. So Exodus 15:20. Leads in celebrating. So this is where, I'll just read it to you because this is this is my favorite thing about Miriam. 15:20. Okay, and it says, then Miriam the prophet, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine and led all the women as they played their tambourines and danced. And Miriam sang this song. Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. He has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. Now, I want you to make note of something right here. A lot of times it will say Miriam, Aaron's sister. And if you think about that, that's because Aaron was raised in the home with Miriam. But by the time baby Moses came along, the boys were being killed, and Moses was only in the house long enough for his mom to nurse him. And then he grew up with Pharaoh and his daughter. So a lot of times they would refer to Miriam as Aaron's sister because they remember that Moses was raised by the Egyptians. Okay, the next thing, see where we are here. Okay, so that is the next one. So we want to put Exodus. 15:20. Gosh, mine are always such a mess. Okay, leads women in worship after Exodus. So basically after the Israelites were walked through the Red Sea. So leads women in worship after Exodus to celebrate God's deliverance. Okay, and then the next one is Deuteronomy 24:9. And that's where she complains about Moses. And then the next one is Numbers 12:13. Where she gets leprosy. God gives that to her. And then Numbers 21 is her death and burial. Okay, so that's the basics that we know about Miriam's story. So how did God use them or change them? Now think about this. If Miriam wasn't brave, so if Miriam wasn't brave enough to help save Moses, the Israelites would, I don't know why I put an apostrophe S, would not have their deliverer, Moses. Okay, and then so God used them or changed them. Miriam boldly led the women in celebration of the deliverance. Okay, and then the next thing is God convicted Miriam's sin with physical illness. Oh, wow, this is messy. Okay, so there's that. Now, questions I would ask them. Let's see where I'm at here. I've got this written down somewhere. I recorded this video once. That's why I have all these notes. Questions I would ask them. How old are you? How old were you when Moses was born? Let me make sure I'm still recording. Yes. I'm not going to take the time to write this down. I'm going to tell you what they are because I don't want this video to cut me short. I would ask her, how old were you when Moses was born? What neat things did you learn from the Egyptians? And why did you bring a timbrel, which is the tambourine? Why did she bring that? Why of all things did she bring that? So here's what I learned from Miriam, okay? This is so cool. You guys have to listen to this. Miriam didn't watch to see if God would rescue Moses. She didn't watch on the banks of the Nile River. She didn't watch to see if God would. She watched to see how God would. Because Miriam had so much faith that she knew that God was going to save Moses. And she just wanted to see how. She didn't know how. She knew he was. And the other thing that I learned from her that was super cool is that Miriam didn't choose a timbrel to celebrate doubting if God would deliver her people. But Miriam brought a timbrel of all things because she knew God would deliver the people. Now think about Miriam's faith. I had never thought about all of this about her. Her faith is amazing. This says, as a young girl, Miriam had, so this is my Dancing in the Desert devotional Bible. It's my NLT. And what it says about Miriam here. As a young girl, Miriam had already seen the worst of Israel's bitter enslavement. When Hebrew sons were being drowned in the Nile, ironically, the source for life for the region. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to read it to you because I don't want this to cut me off. But it is really neat. This book is neat because it has little devotionals about the people throughout. So I noticed, there is a link for it below if you're interested, but I noticed that when we were back here talking about Aaron and Miriam complaining about Moses, that there was one of these two that I have not read yet. So I'll have to go in and do that. But I better cut this off right now because I do not want to have it cut out on me. But wow, isn't Miriam amazing? So if you guys learned something else about her, if you have a little bit of a different perspective, will you please put it in the comments below so that we can all learn from each other, because we would love to be able to do that. And remember that you don't have to have this form. You can just merely take notes just like I did here, and you will learn just as much. Okay? All right. I'll see you later. You're beautiful. Bye.